from N. Jayakumar of Prime Securities before trade opens up, and then we'll talk to him in detail. Jakes, morning, good to see you in. What's the call for October now?
I think we'll continue to move here. I think the story is going to be currencies, which was the big takeaway even 2.5 months ago when we talked. I think the big takeaway still is currencies, and unless there is some degree of stability there, the foreign investors see this very differently from the domestic investors. So I think in a sense it's investment of two different managers, the local money manager, the local retail, and the overseas. One who is hurt deeply by the currency, and for one whom there's a listless market which is around. So I think that's going to be the theme for what I have to say today.
Okay. Jakes, last time we were talking about the rupee, you were making the point that the market was down, but the rupee was still at 44, 45, which is never the case in a bear market kind of situation. But now we are nudging 49. What do you think has changed?
What's changed is essentially, talking to a lot of these currency hedge funds, nothing to do with equity markets. These they had built up, over the last, I would say almost 18 months or thereabouts, a huge basket of dollar short versus a basket of emerging market currencies, which included everything from the Indian rupee, the Brazilian real, the Korean won, maybe even the Singapore dollar, and so on and so forth. So that basket of currency essentially represented for them a play on emerging market currencies, and to many, in many senses also, the support or buttressed by the fact that there was an interest rate differential in favor of the emerging market currencies. So you had low interest rates in developed markets like in the US dollar, for instance, and you were getting 8 and 10 and 12% carries in the case of the Brazilian real or the Indian rupee, etc. That trade essentially got a huge jolt when the euro actually took a knock, and the rush to safety, if you will, or the flight to safety into the US dollar. So paradoxically what that's done, and if just going back to this, I think it's important to point this out, is when the US dollar versus the rupee was in the 44-45 range, it did not necessarily come on the back of huge FII inflows. So all of us were kind of wondering that when debt flows into the market was kind of regulated by debt caps, the caps on various government securities and corporate debt, and the FII flows were not that strong, what was actually resulting in this currency appreciation? And the answer, looking back, is where we find it today, which is that not that there's huge amounts of FII outflows as of today, nor are there outflows on the debt side. In fact, more money could come in at these levels of the dollar rupee. But the big difference has been that these currency traders, which actually has never been either documented or never been, no data for this is available, those shorts have actually been unwound, and that's unwinding even as we speak. So there could be an overshoot even to the 49.5 range, but somewhere along these levels I think the rupee will find some support, and the dollar will get sold into either by the Reserve Bank or exporters in large measure. And it was very clear that there was a consensus long on the Indian rupee, and that's got broken. The consensus long on emerging markets currencies, that's broken. And just to add to another point, very interesting, at that time we talked about a whole bunch of stocks, the index, etc. Over the last 3 months, really, if you look at it, barring 3-4%, the volatility has been there, but from say 3 months ago to today, the index move has not been that significant. In fact, a whole bunch of stocks have actually remained at those levels or actually inched a little higher in terms of the mid-cap space. And yet what's changed is that the foreign investor has hurt by almost 8 to 9%, which is the dollar rupee move. And at that point in time, if the rupee was acting as a support for him, today the rupee is acting as a serious issue, because while the local rupee prices may be the same. So as I see it right now, it's a tale of two investors: the foreign investor who's put in money and the foreign investor who's waiting to put in money. Two different breeds again. The person who's put in money has lost 8-9%, even while the underlying stock may have performed, not gone down too much, maybe even appreciated a bit. The Indian investor, strange as it may sound again, has actually not really been that worse off over a 3-month period. But with the currency move, one could argue that when the dust settles, people could find this an attractive level for the rupee to be invested into, which means you want to invest in India, you got a great entry point from the dollar rupee perspective. But at this point in time, there's no one to say here that the dollar run has not gotten over. And I think while the dollar index is stretched on the upside, as long as clarity does not emerge, there are currencies that appreciated far more than the Indian rupee on the way when the Indian rupee was appreciating, and they've depreciated far more than the Indian rupee. For instance, last night, Brazil lost 5%, as in the Brazilian real, and that's moved from 1.58 to 1.83 in 3 weeks, which is almost a 20% move. Now, we could take solace from the fact that we've not depreciated that much, but we didn't appreciate that much in the first place. So this is all a currency play at this point in time. This is not a stock market play where participation, whether in India or overseas, has been very low in any case.